All right, welcome back. Today we're continuing our RBT exam review with our latest mock exam, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, please let us know. As always, work hard, study hard. Let's get to the questions. My class gets out at 4 p.m. When I walk to the student union, I try to go into Jamba Juice, but the door is locked. I walk next door to Panda Express instead. From now on, I walk to Panda Express. This is an example of what? Okay, behavior question. Behavior questions, we're always trying to identify what behaviors we're looking at. In this case, you, or my class, gets out at 4 p.m., walk to the student union, try to go to Jamba Juice, door is locked. What does that represent? Stop and think for a second. Don't rush through it. What does it represent? If the door is locked, and usually you can walk in, reinforcement has been withheld, your behavior is on extinction. So when you go to Jamba Juice, your behavior is put on extinction. What do? You try an alternate behavior. So you go to Panda Express instead, eat at Panda Express, and now you continue going to Panda Express. So one of your behaviors was put on extinction. The other one was reinforced. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to continue doing the behavior that received reinforcement. And so when we put one behavior on extinction, reinforce another behavior, what do we call that? A, differential reinforcement. There it is, right? That's exactly what differential reinforcement is. What about negative reinforcement? Well, we're not removing anything. Okay, you're going to Panda, you're getting food, having a meal, no negative reinforcement going on. Positive and negative punishment. Remember, extinction and punishment are not the same thing. So just because Jamba Juice is locked, your behavior is not being punished. Reinforcement is just being withheld. Not adding or removing anything, just being withheld. So we're putting one behavior on extinction, reinforcing another. This is considered differential. A group of young children are taught to identify different items at a grocery store in their classroom. After 2 months, the kids have mastered all of the items. What should happen next? Right, got to put on your analytical thinking caps here. Kind of a more applied question, I would say. Think about what's going on in the question. We've taught a group of children to identify items at a grocery store in the classroom. 2 months later, they've mastered it. Celebration, great, awesome. What are we missing here? Does it really matter if they can identify items at a grocery store in the classroom if they can't do it in an actual grocery store? It does not. So before we can celebrate, we need to be sure this skill is what? Well, that is generalizing. Okay, we can teach all the skills we want. If they don't generalize, we're not really successful. What should happen next in the scenario? A, move on to a different goal and start teaching the children that goal. Are we done with this goal? No, we're not. Okay. Just because we taught it in the classroom doesn't mean it's successful. We need to figure out, hey, is it happening other places? Is it generalizing? If it's not generalizing in ABA, don't consider your work done. B, teach the children how to pay for items at a grocery store. Well, now we're jumping the gun here, right? Because what if they learn to pay, but they still can't identify the items? We still need to stop and get that crucial step of generalization. C, have the kids go to the grocery store and identify items. Perfect. Now we are testing for generalization. We are verifying they can go to the store, pick up peanut butter, cereal, and macaroni. Then we can move on to different goals, teach them to pay, so on and so forth. Generalization, valuable, important, imperative, has to be done. D, continue teaching the grocery store goal until you think of another target. Well, no, now we're just wasting time. Okay, we need to be actionable. We need to be fluid, organic, and adaptable. And we need to be sure our skills are generalizing, first and foremost. So once they master it in the classroom, let's get to the grocery store and let's get to the grocery store and have the kids go and identify items. Let's actually generalize it. Which of the following options would be the worst way to describe a behavior in behavior analytic terms? Think about all the ways we're supposed to describe behavior. Objective, measurable, observable. So when we're talking about describing behavior in behavior analytic terms, you need to start thinking about those things, right? Is it objective? Is it measurable? Is it observable? So A, Susan steps on the gas pedal and her car moves forward. Is that objective? Yes, we can observe Susan stepping on the gas, the car moving forward. Can we measure it? We certainly can. B, Blaine eats 10 bites of broccoli and throws it on the floor, Is that observable and measurable? It is. Blaine ate his 10 bites of broccoli and then threw it on the floor. Okay. We can measure that. We can observe that. We're not saying why. We're just saying it happened. Okay, that's the key. So C, James gets confused and raises his hand. Can we observe it? Can we measure it? Is it objective? No. Whatever James is doing before he raises his hand can look really different to a lot of different people. Okay. We don't just describe it as he got confused. Okay. Maybe we asked a question and then James raised his hand. James got to problem number 10 and then raised his hand. See how much more observable and objective that is than gets confused. Okay. Gets confused doesn't really tell us anything about what's going on in the moment. D might pour cereal into a bowl and grabs a spoon. Objective, measurable, observable, totally fine. What is the worst way to describe a behavior in behavior analytic terms? Well, it's going to be C. James gets confused and raises his hand. A football player is slow to react when the ball is snapped. His coach wants him to react in 1 second or less, but he reacts in 2 or 3 seconds. The coach is looking to reduce what? Behavior question. Let's identify what we are talking about. We're talking about the coach wanting to reduce something. Well, what does the coach want to reduce? Well, ideally, the coach wants him to react to the ball being snapped in 1 second or less, but in actuality, the player reacts in 2 or 3 seconds. So the coach is looking to reduce his response time, his reaction time to the ball being snapped. And if we look at the snap as the SD, the time between the ball being snapped and the reaction is considered what? Is that rate? Are we talking about frequency here? Coach is not counting how many plays or how many times he does it. He's looking at the time in between the ball being snapped and the reaction, the SD and the response. So if we look at B, latency, now that's what we're talking about, right? Latency, time in between the SD and the response. We have to speed that up. We have to reduce the latency. Duration, total time. Are we looking at total reaction time? We're looking at how quickly the player can react once the SD or the ball being snapped occurs. And then IRT, into response time. Are we looking at time in between reactions? Again, no. We're just looking to reduce latency. Time from the SD snapping the ball to the player responding. Pretty tricky question. Pretty applied. If you got it right, good for you. If not, go back, review continuous measurement. Your client's mom tells you they were having a huge garage sale on Saturday and will be selling a bunch of their old stuff. She tells you that you're more than welcome to help them run it, and she will pay you $50 for your time. Respond. By now, if you've been preparing, you should easily get this question right. Immediately, what are you thinking? Hopefully that this is inappropriate. You shouldn't be going garage selling or running garage sales with the client. You definitely shouldn't be making money from a client for things other than behavior analytic services, RBT. Okay. Babysitting, garage selling, all these things off limits. Okay. You are there in a professional capacity to provide a service. So how should you respond with that being said? A, accept the offer, but make sure you clear it with your supervisor. Well, you would need to clear it, but you shouldn't accept this offer. Okay. You're running into conflicts of interest. You're running into dual relationships. Not appropriate. B, accept the offer, but make sure you implement the behavior plan while you're at the house. Well, no, you don't just go in there off the clock and start working with the kid to justify going there and do something else, which is more on a personal level, right? And a conflict of interest. Okay. So B is probably worse than A, right? Because now you're there, not clocked in, running ABA programs. Who's responsible for you? Your supervisor. Okay. C, politely decline the offer and explain this might be a conflict of interest. There we go. Very easy. People understand. Not a big deal. Don't panic. Don't get intimidated. Don't think you can get around it. Just do the right thing. You have to be ethical. Okay. So you should politely decline the offer and explain it might be a conflict of interest. And then D, politely decline the offer and report the family to the BACB. The BACB doesn't care about the family. They care about you. They care about what you're doing. Okay, not what the family is doing. So if this occurs, we need to avoid conflicts of interest. We need to avoid dual relationships. We need to politely decline and explain about this might being a conflict of interest. Yesterday, Lane bought a huge box of stimuli from the store. There are over 20 items in the box. What would be the most efficient way of conducting a preference assessment on all 20 items? A lot of items to assess, right? A lot of items, not a lot of time. How can we efficiently go through all these items and try to get an accurate assessment of preference? A, single stimulus. We present one at a time. Okay, going to be pretty slow, right? Effective, we'll get a sense, but it doesn't really do a good job of comparing each stimulus to the other, right? So single stimulus is okay, but there might be something better. B, forced choice. Forced choice would not be the most efficient. It's the best at establishing a hierarchy, but it's definitely not the most efficient with 20 items. You would need to compare every item to every other item. It would take a very, very long time. C, multiple stimulus with replacement. Multiple stimulus with replacement is not going to get the job done because remember, when they pick an item from the field of 20, you're going to replace all other 19 items. So it's not going to help us to go through this box very quickly. Multiple stimulus without replacement. Good. Okay. Now at least we have all 20 items on the table. They're compared. And all we need is the client or the learner to pick their best one, remove it, pick their favorite one, remove it, so on and so forth. It's going to be efficient. It's going to be easy. Okay. Multiple stimulus without replacement is going to be efficient for conducting a preference assessment on 20 items. The client engages in escape maintain behavior when working on a homework. Today, the client has an accident while doing their homework, and the RBT allows them to change their clothes before going back to work. Best way to describe the RBT's behavior would be, all right, careful here. We know the client is escape maintain. However, while they're doing their homework, they have an accident, right? Not, something we're just going to sit and let happen, okay? Think how you would respond to any person. Okay? You would make sure they get cleaned up, they would change, etc. Okay? And when we allow them to, even though it's escape maintained, we allow them to go change, we're respecting them, maintaining their dignity. And that is first and foremost what we're there to do. So, are we punishing the client's behavior? Not. Okay, there's no punishment going on. Are we maintaining the client's dignity? Yes, we are. Okay, we shouldn't let the client just sit there because we're scared they might be escaping. Okay, if it continues, then we can talk about it, and you can get to your BCBA, right? Figure something else out, but you don't just let them sit there. C, not following the behavior plan. We know what the behavior plan is, okay? But even then, you cannot just let them have an accident and not allow them to change, okay? Not dignified, not ethical. D, not maintaining the client's dignity. If you let them sit there, you would not be maintaining the client's dignity, but that's not what we're doing. We are maintaining the client's dignity, and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. The client's target behavior is responding to a question, and the schedule is an FR1. The RBT asks the client, what is 2 plus 2? And the client says 5. The RBT says, no, that is not it. Try again, and does not deliver reinforcement. What is the problem here? A couple of different things going on, okay? Think about what the question is saying. The client's target behavior is responding to a question. It doesn't say accurately. It just says responding to a question. The schedule is an FR1, meaning whenever they respond, they get reinforcement. So we see the scenario where the RBT asked the client, what is 2 plus 2? And the client said 5. He responded. The RBT said, no, that's not it. Didn't deliver reinforcement. So not only is the RBT not following the proper target behavior, they're also not implementing the reinforcement schedule. What's the problem? A, the RBT is not teaching the correct target behavior. That's right. Okay. They are supposed to be teaching responding, which the client did. Instead, they're going for some sort of accuracy. Not okay. We need to reinforce the target behavior. B, the RBT is not following the reinforcement schedule. That as well, because it should be an FR1. The client responded to the question, should have received reinforcement, did not. RBT is not following the reinforcement schedule. That's an issue. C, nothing. The RBT is doing everything correctly. Of course, that is not our answer. D, both A and B. Yep, that's what we're looking for. The problem is the RBT did not teach the correct target behavior of responding to a question, and the RBT did not follow the reinforcement schedule of a fixed ratio. Finally, if you describe behavior as moving in an increasing trend, the data path on the graph should move what direction? Super simple graphing question. If the behavior is increasing, what is our trend? Well, it's increasing, it's moving upwards. So if we have our data path, our data points are connected, okay, and the data path is going to be going upwards in an upward fashion, in an increasing fashion. So the data path on the graph should move upward. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and join. Looking for study materials, check out rbtexamreview.com. Hard, study hard. See you soon.